with an update on a WWE lawsuit and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. During his appearance on Kurt Angle's podcast, Booker T said this about the rise of Cody Rhodes in WWE. You know, I feel like I was a big part of Cody's rise. Like, he owed me a check. No, I saw something in Cody back then working with him in 2011. You know, when no one was really giving him a chance. I saw something in Cody Rhodes. That's the only reason no one came to me with that and said, hey, look, you want to work? Cody did that. That's the first time I've ever asked to work with someone. That's the first time in my whole career that I've ever asked to get in the ring and not just work with someone but put them over. I said I would have put him over right in the middle. I'm looking at it, the lights, 1, 2, 3. Because of his dad, I remember I was at one of the house shows and I went out and I rocked it. Then I came back through the curtain and Dusty go, they won't put you on first. I was like, yeah man, I love Dusty, me and Goldie. I mean, we don't get too much tighter than Goldie, and Cody is the same way, man. I just wanted to see that kid thrive because I saw his talent when he was with all those other guys. He just didn't get to shine that Batista and Randy Orton and those guys got. But I thought he was just as good of a talent, and for him to be in the mix, but exactly for him to lead a company and go out there and rebuild himself and brand himself, and then the company said, hey, we want you back, we want you. We know we need you back under this umbrella. And for him to be doing what he's doing now, he did that. He did that all on his own, man. So I give him major props for being a guy who grew up in this business but was willing to excuse me and go out there on that independent scene. And that's a grind, dog. That's a grind. And I'm going to tell you, I was in a couple of independent shows and he would show up and he would always, I mean, everybody else looking like a bum. Cody would have that suit, his hair was well coiffed, and I was like, well, you learned. Because Cody, every time he saw me, I was always dressed. I was always looking the part, and for Cody to pick that up and figure that out, I was pretty proud of that kid. Asked about the longevity of his American badass persona, The Undertaker said on his 6 Feet Under podcast, I don't think so. I don't think it has 30 years of legs. It excels pretty fast, but I don't see 30 years without some kind of, it doesn't matter what the character is, you have to evolve. With something like the American badass, there's not a whole lot of places to evolve to. I'm a big badass biker who gets in fights and talks There's just not a lot of places to go with that. Where The Undertaker, the original character, there are all kind of different things you can do with that. I don't think it has 30-year legs. I took more bumps as American Badass than I did as Undertaker. I actually took more bumps at the end of my career than the beginning. It all worked out the way it was supposed to. On the topic of the Pro Wrestler of the Year award for 2023, Jim Cornette revealed his pick on his podcast. Even if you don't want to go with the obvious that is Roman Reigns, would you then have to go with, because Roman, I will say it's obvious for the people that might not know, because he's on top of the biggest company in the world and the biggest shows he's on top of are all better than the ones he's not on. But then also you have to be realistic. At this point, would that not be the LA Knight Award? If Cody was inspirational because he came back from his injury, he's the most popular babyface in the business. Is not the Wrestler of the Year the guy who is now the second most popular babyface in the business? And this time last year, or maybe more recently, was a joke manager of a modeling agency. What kind of turnaround? How has that ever happened before this quickly in the wrestling industry? You go from you hate the gimmick you're doing, everyone else hates the gimmick that you're doing, and you're not doing it very well, and they're about to fire you, to you're a superstar and you're the main event of a $50 million show in Saudi Arabia in 9 months. Here's the thing. He didn't improve because he was always that good. He overcame bad booking and made them use him. I say that's Wrestler of the Year. Yeah. Announcing the top tag team for 2023, Pro Wrestling Illustrated wrote on X, congratulations to FTR, Dax and Cash for once again standing tall as PWI's top-ranked tag team in the world. Our annual Tag Team 100 ranking is available in the latest issue of PWI, Time Was Tony Storm cover, which is available for purchase now via our website. Here are the top 10 tag teams from the PWI for this year. Number 1, FTR, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. Number 2, Aussie Open, happen, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. Number 3, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Number 4, Bishamon, Goto and Yoshihashi. Number 5, Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Number 6, ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin. Number 7, The Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Number 8, Judgment 8, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest. Number 9, Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Io Sky and Bayley. And number 10, 7-Up, Takahashi and Yu. With speculation that the NWA could have worked out a deal with the CW, there is an update to this story, as Ringside News said. It was previously reported that the NWA may have tainted their deal with the CW over that cocaine spot at the NWA's recent pay-per-view event. It was then announced that the CW would become NXT's home from next year, due to which Billy Corgan got criticized by fans and pro wrestlers alike, especially Eric Bischoff. Interestingly enough, if fans browse the CW app, they will find that NWA Powerrr is currently available there. For the time being, only 8 episodes of the series' 15th season are available for streaming, listed in the recently added section. That said, the NWA is expected to get roster as well as production cuts in the future. Billy Corgan doubled down on the NWA landing a TV deal with a top 20 network recently as well. Regardless, we'll have to wait and see what will become of the NWA in the end. Mentioning her perspective of WWE restricting women so they would not overshadow the men, Nikki Bella told WESH, "I wish we had the opportunity of what women have now. I wish we could have the Hell in a Cell matches. It wasn't us that didn't want that, and the company just threw that on us because that makes the company look better. It's just blame the women that it was them why we didn't have it. They didn't want women to have that then. They didn't want women to overshadow the men." Going over the ratings boost that came with the announcement of Randy Orton's return to WWE for War Games, Ringside News wrote that Randy Orton's return was announced in advance of Survivor Series, a move made to diminish any speculation regarding CM Punk's return at the event held in Chicago. The announcement was revealed during the closing moments of Monday's Raw by Rhodes. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics highlighted the notable fan reaction to the reveal. The video on YouTube garnered over 1 million views in just a little over 24 hours. Raw's viewership for the episode reached 1,459,000 with a key demo rating of 0.49. Notably, this marked Raw's highest rating in the 18 to 49 demographic since September 4th, even though it aired against a historic NFL game. For the record, the show's big competition, the Eagles vs. Chiefs game on Monday Night Football, was the most watched Monday Night Football regular season game in 27 years, with nearly 29 million viewers on Monday Night Football across ABC, over 15.5 million, ESPN, almost 11.5 million, and the Peyton and Eli Manning cast on ESPN2, 1.92 million. The final segment of WWE Raw on November 20th, which featured Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso and included the expected announcement, saw a +7 increase in total viewership and a 5% uptick in the key demo rating. Raw's third hour typically experiences a drop in ratings, and this trend continued this week until the final segment. Talking about a possible tag team match against the Young Bucks in WWE, Jey Uso told The Ringer, "If you all want these dream matches, you all going to have to bring your ass to WWE, dog, to the top tier. You all going to have to come where we ain't dropping down. Young Bucks, everybody, like, bring it, dog. Run it. We the ones for a reason, and I mean that. I stand on that, bro. We the best tag team in the world. And if you want to get detailed with it, I'm talking about on the microphone, the way we dress, the way the gear look, the way we carry ourselves, the swag, the ink, everything. The hair, the grills, the earrings, the chain, all that's real, Oos. All that is real." It seems that the lawsuit between WWE and Panini, the trading card company that WWE licensed their intellectual property to for products, is now at an end, as Ringside News writes. The lawsuit between WWE and collectibles company Panini has concluded after both parties accused each other of breaching their licensing contract. This was a messy situation, but now it is resolved. Court documents obtained by Paul Lesko revealed that both parties informed the court of their settlement and requested the dismissal of the case with prejudice. The designation signifies that the case is permanently closed and cannot be brought back to life. The dispute stemmed from a 4-year agreement in March of 2022, allowing Panini to create WWE-themed trading cards and stickers in exchange for royalty payments to WWE. However, Panini claimed WWE wrongfully attempted to terminate the contract and demanded $5,625,000 in unpaid royalties. In response, WWE filed its own complaint, asserting that it terminated the contract due to Panini's alleged violation of the licensing agreement. Additionally, WWE contended that Panini was infringing on WWE's intellectual property rights by continuing to sell WWE products. Panini's website still offered cards featuring Bianca Belair, Dominic Mysterio, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins. Now, WWE will carry on with their planned agreement to produce trading cards with Fanatics. Explaining how her AEW debut came about, Karen Jarrett said on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, "Well, it was very last minute when it was decided on. I thought it was going to happen maybe sooner than it did when stuff happened with the Acclaimed. I know different ideas were tossed around backstage, and Jeff said, I think this may happen, I think that might happen. It was actually Dax that kept pushing for it from what I've heard, so we have him to thank for me showing up. I think it's like 36 hours before we're told, hey, we need you there." Former NXT and AEW star Leva Bates went on Instagram to reveal what she has been up to outside of the world of pro wrestling writing. "So I randomly disappeared in January, early February, and traveled across the world. I was a part of the very first Squid Games, The Challenge on Netflix. I didn't get slapped by Gong Yu. I kind of feel cheated." Revealing the whereabouts of the Young Bucks, Brandon Cutler wrote on X, "I am being told the Young Bucks are not backstage this week at Dynamite." Of course, previously, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported this regarding plans for the Bucks. The Young Bucks are poised for a heel turn if they haven't already undergone one in the eyes of many, but we're told they won't be alone in that. In addition to the Young Bucks, there have been plans for them to be joined by others. Fightful has learned that Brandon Cutler is at least tentatively slated to continue with the Bucks, as well as at least one other personality as they continue their turn. The tweet that Cutler put out indicating that the Young Bucks are taking time off of wrestling is to further that, and he'll be doing a lot of the speaking for them on screen and social media moving forward. The altered format of being the Elite is a part of this. It appears as though an AEW star is nearing the end of his recovery, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said. "The last time we saw Mark Quinn of Private Party was last November in a loss to Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Unfortunately, he's been out of action for nearly a full year, which led Isaiah Cassidy to team with the likes of the Hardys and Ethan Page. Even then, Cassidy has only worked a couple of dozen matches during that period himself. We're told Cassidy was backstage at a recent AEW show, and AEW is hopeful that he could return sooner than later. Quinn sustained a shoulder injury and had been in a sling for quite some time. It's worth noting that even if cleared, we aren't sure if any creative plans are in order. There have been situations like Thunder Rosa where talent have been ready and we're just awaiting creative." When it comes to the perception of pro wrestlers making the transition to acting, AEW World Champion MJF took a shot at Hulk Hogan, telling Dr. Bo Hightower, "I think a lot of the time when people look at wrestlers going into acting because Hulk Hogan did such a job, he did, let's be honest, probably one of the worst actors of all time. People were so hesitant of letting pro wrestlers into acting, thanks to trailblazers like Cena, Rock, and Batista absolutely massacring it every single time they are on screen and killing doing it, it's pretty cool and unique now because when they look at wrestlers, they understand now that what we do is really difficult and it takes a lot of charisma, charm, and athleticism. So does being the top draw in Hollywood. I think it's a pretty easy transition. I shouldn't say that. It's an easy transition if you're capable of being a top guy in my sport. It's easier. If you're somebody that struggles in front of the red light and you're just a really good grappler, it's harder. Asked if he wished a feud between Goldberg and Chris Jericho took place in WCW, former president of that company Eric Bischoff said on his 83 Weeks podcast, no, because it would have been a train wreck, to be honest. I like Bill. He was a pain in the ass to work with back then, and part of that is not because he's a dick, not because he's just got a bad personality, not because he's selfish, but because he didn't have the tools to get into the ring and have a match with Chris Jericho. He was insecure in his own abilities. Now, he might not even admit that to himself, but I think one of the reasons he resisted is because he knew if he got in there with Chris, he'd have to really step up his game, and Bill was still relatively new to the business at that point in time. He didn't have all the experience that Chris had. He didn't have the tools in his toolbox to be able to go out there and have a 12 or 15 or 18-minute match with a guy like Chris Jericho and look good doing it. Bill was only capable of looking like Bill Goldberg within a limited framework of offense, right? He just didn't have it, and I think that's what bothered him more than anything. And I think you're absolutely right, by the way. Chris probably was that. This situation made Chris realize that there was nowhere for him to go. I don't blame him for feeling that way. By the way, he was right at that point in time. He was absolutely right, and he should have gone to WWE, and he did, and he was justified in doing it. But I think it's unfortunate because Bill had a couple more years of experience under his belt and would have been able to go out there and have some great matches with Chris. It could have been a phenomenal story to tell. A little bit of David and Goliath. Chris is a fighter by nature. His instinct, it's just who he really is. And I think he would have played well into that character and would have forced a kind of serious side out of Chris Jericho up until that point because Chris was having fun. Chris was doing crazy, over the top, and this would have forced Chris to take a more serious approach to that match, and that could have been outstanding, but it just wasn't in the cards. And forcing a guy like Bill Goldberg to do something that he's unwilling or doesn't want to do, it's only going to be bad. Yeah, you might have. I might have been able to force the issue contractually. It would have been horrible. Celebrating her winning the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament, Lola Vice can be seen on a jet ski in this video.
We're back in my city. We're on vacation. Welcome to my city, baby. As your 2023 NXT Women's Breakout Star. Lo que pasa es que this heat is too much for them to handle y a cada cual le llega su hora. Dale, azúcar!
On social media, former WWE star Matt Riddle, who has been known in recent times for his long hair, showed off his new hairstyle. Mentioning his future as a singles competitor in WWE, Jey Uso told Billboard, "The first singles championship on the top of my list is the Intercontinental Championship title. Gunther gonna have to run that. Everybody over there, he likes the Tribal Chief. You see what I did to the Tribal Chief? I don't give a damn. Let's run that. My dad was an IC champion. My uncle, Umaga, IC champion. Shawn Michaels, my favorite wrestler. The greatest, Razor Ramon. All the greats held the Intercontinental Championship, and I'm trying to get that. That's pay-per-view material right there." For that same interview, Jey Uso said this regarding what entertainer or athlete he would like to see make their way to WWE. First one that comes to mind is Conor McGregor. He's kind of been tiptoeing around us a little bit. He's had interactions with a couple of us, but never fully got in there. I'd like to see what he's about. Revealing how hot yoga is helping with his recovery from his neck injury, Big E said this to SI Live. For fans and members of the wrestling community, we're all navigating our own struggles. I believe it can be truly meaningful for them to see someone they watch on TV talking openly about their mental health journey. Sharing how we find healing through community becomes increasingly important, especially as we all grow older. Meditation over the past couple of years also has really changed me. Recognizing the importance of prioritizing mental health is a journey I've embraced. As a young man, I couldn't always speak on certain struggles I faced. Now, I want to advocate for an understanding that sharing our mental health experiences is not only crucial but also a sign of strength. Unfortunately, the dog of WWE Hall of Famer Lita has passed away as she paid tribute on Instagram, writing, "Right now I have no words, just sadness. I always knew it couldn't last forever, so we made the most of our decades together every day. I've never known a love so deep or profound as ours. I am devastated and heartbroken, but beyond thankful to have had our story together. My deepest love to you always." Going over new competition that AEW will see for their flagship show Dynamite, Ringside News wrote that in 2023, AEW experienced decline in ratings, attendance, and various business metrics. However, the promotion has managed to stabilize its ratings decline and continues to garner strong viewership for Dynamite on TBS every Wednesday night. Rampage and Collision, on the other hand, have faced challenges in terms of ratings due to less favorable time slots. Rampage airs late on Friday nights, while Collision occupies prime time on Saturday nights. The Hollywood Reporter noted that Fox recently announced a significant scheduling change by moving the long-standing animated series Family Guy to Wednesday nights in March. This move is expected to present strong competition in the ratings block where AEW airs, as Family Guy historically attracts a substantial viewership for Fox. Fortunately for AEW, Family Guy will not occupy the entire 2-hour broadcast of Dynamite. Family Guy averages above 1 million viewers, so moving it to Wednesday nights could be a big dent for AEW Dynamite. That is the last thing Tony Khan's company needed, but it was likely not a calculated attempt on Fox's part to sandbag AEW Dynamite viewership. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.